Well, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. Today I'm going to be talking about family estrangement. Now, we've been focusing a lot on parents on this channel, and we've been looking at and examining all the trauma, all of the mismanagement of emotions in that parent-child relationship. We've been looking at fear of abandonment and PTSD symptoms and personality disorders. And so in today's video, we're going to take just a little bit of a turn, just a little bit, and we're going to focus on family estrangement. And what I want to point out are three major barriers to getting back together with your family member or your parent, whoever you're dealing with. This video is appropriate for, as long as they are related to you. And I also want to give you a couple of reasons as to why this particular thing tends to happen in families. It's rather traumatic, and it's not something that's easy to accomplish when it comes to deep-seated emotions and anger and just feeling mishandled. But it is also not something that is healthy at the same time. Like, you may want to accomplish separating yourself from family members or your parents who are unhealthy, but is that really easy to do? And is that healthy? So we're going to be talking about this over the next few days. Before we jump in, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Tamra, and I'm an internationally and board certified trauma therapist. I'm also licensed in mental health, and I specialize in treating children, teens, and families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma. Let's jump in. So, family estrangement, it's a complicated topic. And, I feel like I talk about a lot of complicated topics on this channel if you've been with me for a while. But this particular topic is really hard because, I strive not to deter the process of forgiveness, of modesty and humility, and telling a loved one or a parent, I need you in my life. I want you in my life. I try not to deter you guys by doing videos that may encourage separation, but I do try to be very honest and very raw and very straight to the point. But I find that when it comes to family estrangement, whether that's on my channel or in my office or over Zoom when I'm doing consultations, I find that this particular topic really requires a specialist perspective. It requires some expertise in managing family dynamics and understanding intergenerational trauma. It's not just the process of saying, you know what, I'm going to walk away from you. I'm getting out of this family. I'm moving away from you. I'm never going to talk to you again. Don't contact me, right? Don't call me. Don't contact me. Don't email me, text me, message me. Don't do anything, but just leave me alone, because there's a lot of dynamics in there. An example of this would be, was the estrangement building over time? Did the estrangement happen impulsively and immediately following some slight or some pain or some kind of a situation that caused you to feel hurt? Did the family estrangement happen because you're adopted or you're a foster child in the family and you grew up under a parental system or a guardianship that didn't make you feel wanted or loved? So there's lots of reasons why this is so complicated and why the dynamics of family estrangement can be complicated. So I'm going to try my best in this video to cover the majority of the topic. And let me just throw this in here too, that I'm only touching the surface in this particular video. Okay? I want you to think about family estrangement and in three major ways. Okay? So let me give you a definition first, and then we'll talk about the three major ways I want you to kind of perceive family estrangement. Family estrangement, or any kind of estrangement, is basically the process by which you lose a previously established relationship. Okay? There's either minimal communication or no communication, right? Or the communication is fleeting. It really just depends on the situation. Now, there are some families who are estranged from each other, and they come back together when someone dies in the family. My family, my extended family, we've been in a situation like that in the past where, let's say on my father's side, someone dies, or passes away, and we don't talk to each other outside of that, well, we have to come together for the funeral if we so choose to. Some people said, we're not coming, okay? We don't want to see you ever, even at death. I'm sure you can relate to that. We're gonna come together because we have lost a loved one, and so we're gonna be a family for a couple of hours, and then when the funeral is over, we're gonna walk away from each other and act like we never knew each other. So family estrangement could be on that level, or it could be completely no communication, right? It doesn't matter if it's a birthday, a graduation, a funeral, a wedding, whatever. I'm never going to talk to you again. I'm going to live my life as if I am completely detached from you. Okay, so family estrangement can be either one of those two things. Now, there are three major ways that I want you to kind of think about family estrangement throughout this video. One is the quality of communication, duration and frequency of the communication, and distance. Okay, so as we are talking about this topic, I want you to zone in on how have these three things occurred in my life. Are we estranged as family members from each other? And if we are, what are we, right? Is it the quality of the communication that's lacking? Is it the duration and the frequency that's lacking? Or is it the distance, that we're just so far away that we don't talk to each other? Okay, so that's kind of like three ways to organize your understanding of family estrangement. There's plenty of reasons as to why family estrangement occurs. So the first thing that could cause family estrangement would be emotional or sexual incest. Now, I talk about emotional incest right up here in this video, and I'm going to try to post a couple of videos in the description box for you on emotional incest. Emotional incest is basically the idea that you are pushing me into an unhealthy and toxic and possibly exploitive relationship pattern or role within a family or within the parent-child relationship, okay? And it's not okay. It's destroying my ability to function in my role, to function as the child, as the family member in a healthy way, because you are forcing me into an inappropriate emotional role and relationship that should not be occurring between you and me. We all know what sexual incest is, right? So family members having sexual relationships with their family members, or a father or a mother sexually abusing their child, or a cousin or a niece or whatever, okay? There's always going to be an inappropriate role there that has created a burden on that system, on that family unit, on that relationship. And so that can cause the family estrangement. Okay, the next thing is porous or fluid boundaries. And what I mean by that is there's no firm boundary, right? You can get away with whatever you want to get away with. You can hurt me whenever you want to. You can take from me and lie to me no matter what. You can sexually molest me and then force me into being the surrogate wife or the surrogate child, or you can push me in the role of the parentified child, right? There's no boundaries, and I'm okay with that. Having fluid and porous boundaries means that there's no barrier up, there's no boundary. And what happens in families that are estranged is the individual grows up and they become more mature in the world, and they're able to see what is happening. And so then they begin to walk away from the relationship, the parent-child relationship, the family relationship, because now they understand that, wait a minute, I was being ran over, okay? And so if that is you may have separated from your family because you recognize how severe, right, the relationship boundaries were lacking. And sometimes that escape is not, I'm not going to talk to you for a few months, but that escape is, I'm never talking to you ever again. The next thing is unresolved mental health and substance abuse problems. Now, we can all kind of, imagine, if you haven't experienced it personally, how difficult it can be to live a life with somebody who has an untreated or severe mental illness. And especially if it's a child, adult child, a teenager, underneath a parent or guardian who's just simply unstable. I talk about that right up here in this video. You might want to go check it out. It's about, growing up under a mentally ill or severely mentally ill parent and the dynamics of that relationship. Now, as an adult child, you may have gone through so much as a child, and you may feel rather traumatized by your parents' unresolved mental health and substance abuse issues, that now you're an adult and you're going to run for your life. You're going to walk away because you don't see the reason to maintain the relationship anymore. It's an unhealthy relationship. And so the family estrangement happens because you need to get away. I think, the other thing that we need to be really focusing on here for a second is something known as racial trauma and racial intergenerational trauma. Now, here's what I mean by that. Family estrangement in a family that's multi-ethnic, that's biracial, that includes Caucasian or white family members, Hispanic, Puerto Rican family members, Cuban, right? If your family is intermixed and interracial, then it's likely that family estrangement can occur in your family. Now, here's why. Racism exists and prejudice within families where there is multi-ethnic individuals. And it's hard to live a life when you have sometimes even people of color within your family being very prejudiced and racist against you, or because of your particular culture or your parent, right? Sometimes there's also racism in a family where there's a biracial child and one part of the family is Caucasian and the other part is Black, or the other part of the family is Hispanic or Puerto Rican. There could be some racial dynamics in that can separate the family. Now, I always talk about my multi-ethnic culture on this channel because, there's different races in my family on my mom's side and on my dad's side, and both of their sides together created a multi-ethnic child. Unfortunately, not everybody in my family, even on both sides, seems to be okay with that. And there may be some older generations or some younger generations within your family where they're not okay accepting that you're part Hispanic or part Puerto Rican or part Native American or Northern African or whatever. And so that racial tension within the family can cause you to really want to walk away because you don't feel loved, respected, or cared for. And so why stick around, right? So family estrangement can happen because of racial trauma and racial intergenerational trauma right within the family unit. A lot of people do not understand that racism can exist within a family unit. And if it does, including prejudice, right, and discrimination, and if it does exist within the family unit, it's going to make it really hard for you to deal with that. And so walking away or hiding and really living your life separate from the majority of the family is something that is likely to happen. Okay. The next thing is misaligned values, ethics, boundaries, lifestyle, and beliefs. Okay, so there's a misalignment across the board. And what's happening here is maybe you want to live this particular way, but somebody else in your family is really strongly against how you're trying to live. That may be religiosity, that may be culture, that may be age. It might be something else in your family, right? It's really difficult to be integrated within a family that has really different values, beliefs, cultures, cultural beliefs, and religious beliefs. And so estrangement is likely to happen in those families because, again, you can't mesh because you have misaligned beliefs and values and ethics and morals and so forth. I have counseled families and done consultations with families, who, have maybe adopted a Black child, or maybe adopted a Hispanic or Puerto Rican child, or maybe adopted an African child, and the parents are Caucasian or white, or the parents are biracial. And that intermix there can really be difficult for the adults in the family. And I've seen the chaos that it can create, because what happens is there's a misalignment of cultural beliefs. There's a misalignment of values and morals and ethics. And so it's really hard to sit down at the same table and say, let's be a wonderful, loving family. Let's not hurt each other. That can also happen with religiosity. Now, I recently had someone consult with me from Cuba. And, she's going through a divorce. And one of the reasons why is because she does not believe in the religion that her husband believes in. And unfortunately, she was raised very differently, experienced religious trauma. And so she does not want to believe in his God, or she does not want to believe in his religiosity. Unfortunately, that has led them to divorce. And so the misalignment of values and morals and cultural beliefs can really create trauma in your life, or even maintain it. The next thing is intergenerational trauma in and of itself. Okay, that can create estrangement. Now, Here's what I mean by that. Let's say that you are 20 and your mom, your grandmother, your grandmother's mom, your great aunt, and a couple of family members back, maybe your ancestors, all dealt with emotional and sexual incest in your family over time. So it's a pattern, okay? You're 20 years old, for example. You're trying to understand the dynamic within the family system. However, your great-grandmother, your grandmother, and your mother puts up a huge defense and a barrier. They don't want to talk about the trauma that has happened to your family over decades. So what do? Well, they stay hush-hush. They close all the information off from you that you're looking for. It's like, they've closed and locked up a vault, right? You can't get in, you can't get the information, you can't find the photos, you can't find the ancestral data and information that you're looking for, because everyone in your family, they are very defensive. And so your intergenerational trauma can cause family estrangement. It's going to do something to you. You're going to either feel unloved or uncared for, or you're going to harbor some kind of resentment. And so that in and of itself can cause you to walk away and say, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with you as my family member. You will not be honest with me. You won't be open. You're covering up information that can free my soul and my mind. That could cause you to walk away. It's happened in many families that I counsel right in my office. And it's a heartbreaking reality, because the reality is this, this person wants this information so they can understand who they are. They want to understand their identity. And unfortunately, because of intergenerational trauma and shame and guilt and pain and unresolved anger, that vault is closed. That door is locked off. And so you're not going to get the information you want, and it can make you feel stuck. The other thing is pathological lying. I've seen this, very close to me in my life. I've seen this in my profession. I've even seen this amongst strangers, coworkers. The list goes on. Pathological lying can cause family estrangement. I don't want to be a part of any kind of relationship with you if you're going to lie on me, if you're going to habitually lie in a way that can bring danger my way, that could get me in a lot of trouble, that could really betray my trust. So the next one is emotionally unavailable parents. These kind of parents, as I talk about right up here in this video, you can go ahead and check that out. They are very unhealthy. They are psychologically unhealthy. They are sometimes sexually abusive. They are immature, and they're not ready to grow up and be selfless parents. And so once you realize that, you may walk away or run away and never come back again. The next and the last is personality disorders. Now, something like sociopathy, narcissism, avoidant personality, borderline personality, those particular diagnoses can lead you to walk away. Because again, as I talk about right here in this video about personality disorders, they are really hard to treat, and they require almost like a interdisciplinary approach, right? It kind of, requires this therapist to be involved, and that psychiatrist to be involved, and that medical doctor to be involved, and that psychoanalyst, right? It's like a whole team approach for these individuals. Thank you so much for being with me in this video today, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stick around with us, and please give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.